Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. I'm your host, Grant for One Fair Review. Today we're going to be looking at Persona 5, the animated series. Now, somebody a while back suggested that I review terrible shows, really bad ones, shows that I don't like instead of good ones, because good ones are boring, and obviously people don't want to be recommended stuff. But I'm going to be working on some terrible anime that I'm going to be talking about, but I wanted to do this video because just recently, and I mean literally just recently, I beat Persona 5. Yes, this is true. The game took me a long time, quite literally over 100 hours to complete. I think the total length of the game is like 150 hours. And I would play the game in burst, where I would play it for a lot, and then I'd put it off, and then play it a long time, and then put it off, and you get the idea. So cut to years later, and I finally beaten Persona 5, and it is still one of my favorite games. I've been saying that for a long time. It's one of my favorite games of this generation, and it's a terrific game, and I really liked it. And there was an anime that came out about it. Now, yes, before anyone says anything, this anime is old. It came out a while ago. It came out a long time ago, and I'm very late to the party. It came out back in 2018. It's 2020 now. But the thing is, I didn't want to watch it basically because I didn't want to get spoiled, and considering it is a 26 episode long series and the game takes 150 hours, I don't know exactly how much was condensed properly, and I did not know what it could spoil. Obviously, it was probably going to focus on the more main story aspects and not on the slice of life aspects of, you know, studying and getting a freaking job and hanging out with your friends and all that. It's gonna cut all that out and just replace it with the main story and lose all the charm of the game naturally. So I didn't want to watch the show because I hadn't beaten the game, and I always told myself once I've beaten the game, I would check out the anime, subject myself to such horrors, and see where it went from there. The studio in charge of this was actually Cloverworks, which just recently, the most recent Cloverworks show that I've reviewed was Fate Grand Order, and that was a terrific show. Babylonia, mind you. That was a terrific show. They also did A Promised Neverland, which was another fantastic show. They also did the Bunny Girl Senpai series, which was phenomenal, really great. And then there was also Darling in the Franxx, which I'm sure people would like to forget at this point, and just based on the reviews I've seen of it, and from what I remember, which isn't much, mind you. But yeah, so they worked on this show. They worked on Persona 5, and I was really kind of curious on how this anime would be treated, and it's pretty terrible. The reason why Persona 5 does not work on a fundamental level, does not work as an anime, is because there's a lot of filler. And that's not to say that that's a bad thing in the game, because no, that's part of the charm. Part of the charm is all of the extra activities you have to do. It's not just about the main story. And when you kind of take out all the extra kind of things and you don't really flush them out, it's really kind of confusing, and it just doesn't work. Once upon a time, people said that video games do not translate well to movies. Back in the day, that pretty much meant that video games were too simplistic to be turned into movies. Nowadays, that means that games have capabilities, they have much more opportunities and a lot more time to develop story and characters and motivations. They have a lot more time to develop all that than your average movie or TV show. Same thing can be said here with anime. Adapting a video game into anime, to my knowledge, doesn't work that well. I remember Blazed Blue, the series. I don't remember exactly what this show was called. I might actually rewatch that and make a review on it, but it was terrible and it made no sense, whereas the game does make sense to an extent and has a fun story. And here we go, we have another one. This is Persona 5, and it takes out all the fun that the game has. The beauty about Persona 5 is the atmosphere. It's the atmosphere, it's the build-up, it's the pacing. All of it's perfect. It's a perfect video game. It has great, action. It's got great characters. It's got great things going on in it at all times. It has amazing writing, and it really needs time to develop. A lot of the time, a story just cannot fit within one episode. And And well, here we are. We're watching the anime. Now I'm gonna preference this right now by saying this is not a review of Persona 5 the anime, because I did not finish the anime because I was getting sick of it. One of the reasons I was getting sick of it was Ren, the main character, Joker, essentially. This is the main character of the show, and I guess they went with Ren because, I mean, he did need a name. I can't imagine them calling him Joker the entire time. He actually talks, which is very, very upsetting and very odd, and obviously you can't choose what he is or how he acts, so already there's a big disconnect. The thing is with Joker doesn't really have a personality. You're supposed to kind of fill that void. Joker is essentially you. You are Joker. What does he do? What are his responses in any given situation? Like, you make Joker into who he is. And in this show, they kind of take away that freedom. It would be like if they were to make a show on, like, say, a Bethesda game, like Skyrim, for instance, and just create a random character. It's like you kind of lose the charm there. Or Mass Effect. I don't know why I went to Skyrim, of all things. It'd be like if they went to Mass Effect and they just made, oh yeah, this is Commander Shepard, made all of his choices for us. And it's like you lose a lot along the way. And you lose a lot of story development, character development. There's not enough time. I mean, we have to take this into perspective, guys. This is an adaptation of a video game that is over 150 hours long, or 140. I think that's the exact time. So it's over 140 hours long, this video game. And they're taking that and they're condensing it into 26 episodes, 24 minutes each. And the problem with that is that this isn't like a Fate Stay Night, where Fate Stay Night was, it's a video game, yes. And so is, like, say, Fate Grand Order. Like, yes, they're video games. But you can successfully condense the stories because the stories aren't particularly, they're not that long, and there are unnecessary things that you can leave out. In the terms of Fate Stay Night, I've watched all the Fate Stay Night. Now, it would never work as a singular movie. It would definitely work as a trilogy, but not a singular movie. And the reason why it works as a TV show is because it does have enough time, and Fate Stay Night wasn't that long, so they can, put as much in as they want and take as much stuff as they want out. They could do a lot with that, and with graphic novels in particular, it works a lot better. Steins Gate was another one where Steins Gate was adapted from a graphic novel, and it works. So obviously, graphic novels make sense because the essence of a graphic novel is its story, and it's not about gameplay. Even though you do make choices in that story, there's a little bit more leeway. There's a little bit more creative. There's more of a creative mindset you can have when adapting it. But with a turn-based JRPG action game, you kind of can't do that, and especially with a game that's 140 hours long. To put it simply, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I watched a few episodes, and then after I watched those few episodes, the beginning episodes that is, then I just started skimming through some scenes on the site that I was watching it on. Name escapes me right now, and I skimmed through it, and I didn't really have an urge to go back and watch it for specific reasons. Now, granted, I didn't expect to like the show, and I know some people might say, oh, you went into it hating it. It's like, no, I did not go into it hating it. I went into it with an open mind. I thought, okay, the animation looks pretty good. The characters, I mean, I still like the characters. Maybe they'll work, but they don't, and that's the problem. There's not enough time, and it's just not like the game. And I think this is one of those experiences. Persona 5 is one of those story experiences that you can only have in a video game form. And God forbid it ever gets adapted into a movie adaptation, because I don't even know how on earth that would work. Another person mentioned too that this series needed to be 500 episodes long, which would be a huge waste of time, but I don't think making the series an animated series about Persona 5 longer, especially 500 episodes longer, I don't think that would make it work either. Because again, it's something that you need to experience full hand as the main character. You need to become Joker. you need to be Joker. You need to go through this because you are more emotionally invested when you play it as a game. When you're watching it unfold, it's very less so. And when the people are controlling all the decisions for you, you lose a lot of that personal touch that made Persona 5 so memorable and so great to begin with. Overall, was the wait worth it? Was it worth waiting? How long did I wait? I waited 2 years. 2 years. Was it worth waiting 2 years to finally watch Persona 5 the anime? Not at all. I mean, it was exactly what I expected. A train wreck. It was not the same. It was irritating to hear Joker's voice. Excuse me. What's his name again? Ren. It was really difficult to hear his voice, and it just wasn't good. It doesn't work. It fundamentally doesn't work. And I think this is something that people kind of need to realize. Video games, especially a video game, a JRPG like Persona 5, they just don't translate well into shows or series. There are some that can make it work. Some really can make it work. I gave an example, Fate Stay Night, Fate Grand Order, to an extent, again. Those can make it work. But a game like Persona 5, it won't work. It just can't. And I obviously they did it to make money, and I hope they made a shit ton of money from this show, because I guess at the end of the day, I don't really care that much. I'm not losing sleep over the Persona 5 series, but yeah, this is one of those anime that I gave up on watching. And yeah, this will probably be the first lineup in a bunch of terrible anime that I'm going to look at and probably review. Hopefully I can actually finish them, unlike this, but hey, this was just a thought experiment. I'm a political idealist, as many people used to call me back in my day, of running for high school president. Is that what it is? Class president? Yeah, it's class president. Back when I was running for class president, a lot of people told me you're a political idealist, and that's what I consider myself. Anyways, this was a huge waste of my time. A time that I will not get back, but I am kind of locked myself from the outside world, so I guess I don't regret it. But I hope you guys do not watch this show, and if you have, stop it. Stop doing it. It's wrong. Why? Don't do it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below. Did you love it, hate it, don't care about it? You never even want to hear me talk about Persona ever again, even though I never talk about it. Let me know down below. I like hearing your guys' comments. You guys have been leaving great comments recently. It's been a joy to read through them. Anyways, I'm your host from Grant. I'm your host from Grant at One Fair Review here. And I'll see you next time. As always, have a nice day.